Hello everyone, and welcome to our video lesson on integers and BEDMAS. To get started, we are going to talk a little bit about some of the numbers that you already know about from your previous math classes. And we'll start with the natural numbers. The natural numbers are the numbers starting with the number 1 and going up by ones as far as you can count. So I've listed a few examples like the number 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are all natural numbers. And this pattern that I've established continues. Those 3 dots mean and so on. You'll notice I've put these numbers in this pattern, a natural number pattern, in a set of brackets. These brackets are called set brackets. So the natural numbers are the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. They have a special symbol, and that symbol is this fancy letter N. And that's the symbol we use in mathematics for the natural numbers. There are other types of numbers that you've learned about. You'll notice the number 0 is missing from my set of natural numbers. When we include 0, we say we're working with the whole numbers. The whole numbers is just the set of natural numbers including 0. And if we were to use a symbol to represent the natural numbers including 0, we would use the fancy letter N with a little 0 at the bottom. And then finally, you've worked with the integers in the past. Integers are positive and negative whole numbers. So the numbers -3 up to 3 and so on in both directions. Just to restate, these are positive and negative whole numbers. So the integers are positive and negative whole numbers. We can think of the integers as being represented on a number line with 0 in the middle, the negative integers to the left of 0, and the positive integers to the right of 0. And we could say that numbers like 4 and -4 are opposites of each other. So if we think of integers on the number line, if we're adding integers, adding means we're taking a number and moving to the right. So adding moves to the right. And if we're to subtract, subtraction is the opposite. Subtraction moves on the number line to the left. Let's try some examples. If I wanted to determine what -3 take away 1 equals, I could think of -3 on my number line, find it on my number line. And we said that subtraction means we're moving to the left. So -3 take away 1 means I'm moving to the left 1 spot. So -3 take away 1 equals -4. So if I try another question, like -2 plus 5, well, I find -2 on my number line. And then now that I'm adding, I'm moving to the right 5 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -2 plus 5 is equal to +3. We'll try one more example. 3 take away 7. So I find 3 on my number line, and I'm subtracting 7, so I'm going down 7. And on the number line, when I move from 3 to the left 7, I end up at -4. So -3 take away 7 is -4. So that's adding and subtracting with integers. And now we can move into multiplying and dividing with integers. And to do that, we need to remember our sign combinations. So if we're taking a positive and we multiply by a positive, two positives together, our overall answer is positive. If we take a positive number and we multiply it by a negative number, or we divide it by a negative number, our overall answer will be negative. Vice versa, if I take a negative number and I multiply or divide by a positive number, my overall answer is still negative. And if I take two negative numbers and multiply them or divide them, my overall answer is positive. So as an example, if I have the number 5 multiplied by -1, I have a positive number, 5, times a negative number, 1. And when I multiply these two numbers together, my overall answer is negative. 5 times -1 is -5. Likewise, -8 multiplied by -2. Well, I have two negative numbers now being multiplied, so my rules tell me my overall answer would be positive. 8 times 2 is, -8 times -2 is positive 16. One more example, -12 divided by 3, positive 3. Again, I have a negative number divided by a positive number, so my overall answer will be negative. 12 divided by 3 is 4, so -12 divided by positive 3 is -4. So we've looked at addition, subtraction, multiplication and division on its own. Now let's start putting it all together, and when we put it all together, we need to remember BEDMAS. BEDMAS stands for brackets, exponents, divide, multiply, add, and subtract. BEDMAS tells you the order you should perform operations in, starting with brackets first and working your way down to subtraction. So a question like this, 8 divided by 2 plus -3 times -2, BEDMAS tells me to take care of the divisions first. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And I'm adding to that -3 times -2. BEDMAS next tells me to take care of the multiplications. -3 times -2 is positive 6. Two negatives multiplied gives you a positive. And then finally we do the addition. 4 plus 6 is 10. Notice how as I'm solving, I'm working down, not across. Also notice how my equal signs all line up. These are parts of good form in mathematics. So as we're solving problems, we always want to be working down, not across, and making sure in our questions our equal signs line up, and we only have one equal sign per line. Last question, 3 plus 6 divided by -2. Again, we start by solving the division. So we had 3 plus 6 divided by -2, when we have a positive divided by a negative, so that ends up being -3. As we're working through this question, I have 3 plus, in brackets, -3. You have to imagine that there's a invisible number 1 in the front of that bracket. which means I'm really multiplying 1 times negative 3. Positive 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. And then my final answer, 3 take away 3, would be 0. Again, I'm working down, not across, and I have one equal sign per line.